Welcome everybody to our session for October for Academy for Program Coordinators. Links for the attendance and the evaluation form are presented in QR code in your screens. I will also repost them in the chat as we move forward with the meeting today. Remember that this session is going to be recorded. It will be posted later on today or tomorrow. Next month, based on your feedback and your evaluations, thank you so much for everybody who has filled out our evaluation after each session. We will do an Academy Q&A, which I have put the link down here in the screen. I will share it moving for later on. Please, if you have any questions that you would like us to have knowledge of for answering during that session, you can post them there. Post as many questions as you want. There's no limit. We'll try to answer those during that session in November. We will not have session in December, and we will be returning in January for our second semester. Today, I am happy to introduce my esteemed friend, sister, and colleague, Kimberly Waterfield, who's going to be talking about setting boundaries. Kimberly is an experienced program coordinator who works right now with Family Medicine Program at Medical City Fort Worth. And she and I have been through many ups and downs, and I'm happy that she is my friend and she is here with us today. So Kimberly, I am going to stop sharing my screen so you can share it. And thank you for talking with us today.
Hi, everybody, and thank you, Aria. That made my day. So sometimes we have to take those things and let them make our day, right? Because sometimes it's a tough day. But thank you so much. And I will let you know that I'm not an expert on, can you hear me okay? I'm not an expert on boundaries. That's why I'm doing this presentation, because it speaks to me. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And if you have any questions, if you could put them in the chat, and I asked Aria to monitor the chat. So let me make sure. Share screen. Let me make sure we're doing the right one. That's the problem with multiple screens I'm blessed to have, but I'm never sure I'm sharing the right one. Hold on 1 second. All right. Do you guys see the big one or the one with my notes? No?
We're seeing your notes.
All right. Let me do the other one. Oh, there you go. Let's try this. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay, great. All right. I hope everybody's having a great day. I know Eris just opened for most of us, and it's just crazy. And if you have time to do this, then you're probably doing 2 other things while you're listening to me. So I'm fine with it. I'm a multitasker myself. As Aria said, I'm a program coordinator here at Medical City Fort Worth, as well as UNT Health Science Center. I've been doing this since 1999. I always tell people not to try to guess how old I am, but most of you could. I've had multiple programs. I've been with family medicine since 2018. I've had fellowships and worked for 2 different institutions. Actually, 1 institution. I worked for UT Southwestern for a while outside of UNT and HCA. So let's go ahead and get started. I have a lot of slides. There's a lot of information. Hoping to have some question time at the end. This is just the subject was very near and dear to my heart. So the objectives we have today, let's see, why isn't that changing? Okay. 1 second, I had some technical difficulty. Oh, there we go. So the objectives are always important, and I kind of cover them very broadly. Define the importance and purpose of boundary setting, define boundaries with focus on benefits and risk. Of course, there are both. Learn effective means to establish and maintain health and respectful boundaries and remaining helpful. What it should say with remaining helpful. What to do when boundaries are not respected, which happens to all of us, I'm sure. The value of having boundaries, it provides us with the most effective response, I feel. It's also equity and dignity for all, which we strive for in all of our institutions. Maintaining focus on our priorities, which they change minute to minute, right? And then maintaining safety for all. And I know that's kind of a scary word to use, safety, but it gives us safety in our mental well-being and in our physical presence, in our offices, and that we are going to be successful in getting our work done. What do we need to establish healthy boundaries? And I'm left an why off there. So, we always find these things after we read it again, right? In short, healthy boundaries, like I said, for protection and personal security, and this is mental and physical security. It's not just, as we, think about walking out of buildings and just, things like that, to create order. Our world is, as a coordinator and a program director, if there are any on here, it's just crazy. Boundaries will help us create order. They help us define ourselves clearly. We get a clearer sense of ourselves in relation to, sorry, my nose is going to run, in relation to others. It shows us that we are valuable, and that when we value ourselves and we set boundaries, how valuable we are. And it also shows others how that we're valuable to them, but we also need our sense of space and peace and our protected work time to get their work done, to make them to make their program successful, to empower us to determine how we will be treated by others. And this is so important. Growing up, I'm a Gen Xer, okay, but I don't think we were taught that we had a whole lot of power, and so boundaries practiced well, they empower us, and then it determines how we will be treated by others and how we want to be treated. And so I think that's very important. And I'm real worried, guys, so just bear with me. But I just felt like this was so important. Why do we need to establish healthy boundaries? Setting clear personal boundaries is the key to ensuring relationships are mutually respectful, supportive, and caring. And in the environment we work in with these young doctors, and then our faculty, who are some are young or some are older, they're a measure of our self-esteem as well. If we set these boundaries and we have this healthy work environment, then others will see that in us and respect us for that. They set the limits for acceptable behavior from those around us. Determining whether they are able to put you down, make fun, or take advantage of your good nature. This is my favorite, because a lot of things in a work environment are said or done, and it's like, oh, I'm just joking. Oh, that's just, whatever. No, it's not whatever. It's derogatory sometimes, and it brings us down. And our work environment should be positive and uplifting. And I know that what we do is hard. We see some hard things. We hear some hard things. These young doctors are put through rigorous tasks, and we're here to support them. So we need our work environment to be supportive and positive as possible. If you're often made uncomfortable by others' treatment of you, it may be time to reset some boundaries to a more secure level. Weak boundaries leave us vulnerable and likely to be taken for granted or even damaged by others, which in this environment that moves fast, and when we're working outside of an 8-to-5 schedule, which most of us do, that those boundaries can fall apart quickly. With healthy boundaries, healthy self-respect will produce boundaries which shows how we deserve to be treated, and this is personally and professionally. They also protect us from exploitative relationships and help us avoid getting too close to people who don't have our best interest at heart. With our resident classes constantly changing, faculty changes, we have to be very protective of ourselves and explore these relationships with others. While their professional relationships, you end up grabbing somebody because their car ran out of gas, or you're helpful in this other way, or you're taking someone to meals if they're sick. I mean, and all of us have our own boundaries on how we work within our residencies. I tend to be very much a mother figure, and it's how I've taken the job and since I started. It's actually one of the things when I interviewed with the manipulative medicine residency, I want to say maybe 2005, the chairman of the department said, I need a mother for these residents. There was 3 at the time. There weren't as many as I have now. And I was a young woman and I had kids at home. I'm like, oh, I can do that. Well, that's a pretty loose boundary. I've had to pull back on that a lot. They still call me that, but the residency mom, but it's very different than it was years ago. What are healthy boundaries? These are basic guidelines that people create to establish how others are able to behave around us, okay? For example, they may involve what behavior is okay, what is not, and how to respond if someone passes those limits, which is kind of hard in our work environments with different people around us. Setting boundaries can ensure that relationships can be mutually respectful, appropriate, and caring. Boundaries are defined as limits we set with other people, which indicate what we find acceptable and unacceptable in their behavior towards us. It's very hard to set those lines professionally sometimes. And a lot of it is just because we value our jobs and we worry. I mean, and we are if you're a coordinator, you're very invested in what you do. Boundaries can be physical or emotional, and they can range from being loose to rigid, with healthy boundaries falling, somewhere in between. And that's usually exactly where I see coordinators. It's kind of in between of rigid and loose. Healthy boundaries serve to establish our identity, right? For example, I don't like people coming behind my desk. You can kind of see my desk here. I don't like you walking behind my desk. I am a hugger, but if I'm gonna hug you, or I'll stand up and walk. I don't like people walk to you. I don't like people walking around my desk. I don't like people coming in my office and shutting the door unless they've asked permission. I don't mind you shutting the door, but just kind of be respectful that, hey, I might not want it shut, and I try to do the same with others. I would never go in someone else's office and just shut the door without permission. Specifically, healthy boundaries can help people define their individuality and can help people indicate what they will and will not hold themselves responsible for. I think we are held responsible for a lot more than we have huge responsibilities, but something that came up just recently is I have possibly huge changes in my call schedule and huge changes in my inpatient schedule coming up due to a change. And I was told by my ADME, you need to let your program director deal with that. And that hit me hard because in my heart, I'm responsible for that, right? She's like, no, your program director needs to deal with that. And I was like, it scares me. It instills fear in me, but I'm going to do my best. So boundaries help you feel safe and comfortable in your relationships. They're a way for you to share your expectations and set limitations with yourself and others, which is so important with residents. And boundaries are a healthy way to show up for yourself, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anybody else, personally or professionally. And I'm preaching to the choir, like to myself when I say this as well. How to set healthy boundaries. Identify your priorities. So I say daily, weekly, monthly. Well, that's what I read a lot. But mine is like, what am I going to get done this 2 hours of this morning, and then this 2 hours of this morning, and then hopefully what am I going to leave with just 2 things done on my list today. So identifying our priorities, and I keep multiple lists. Knowing my limits, which is extremely, I've learned over the years. Like I'm at a max, I'm done. I need to go ask for help. Be assertive and define your boundaries early and be direct. And some of the chat and on Facebook, we talked about that. And I have a PowerPoint that in orientation that I talk about when it's appropriate to email, when it's appropriate to text, the hours that I will be answering these things. I do it day one, and then I repeat it later in the year. Learn to say no. And it's okay for us to say no. It's not disrespectful. It's not rude. I think, no comes with, here's what's on my plate. What would you like me to move around? What can someone else take? And practice this. Practice setting our boundaries, identifying our priorities, and be consistent. And another thing that I like and that I wanted to mention is I use my higher up. I use my ADME. I use the associate dean that we work with. If it comes to that, if somebody brings me a project that I'm not done in the past, that I feel like I don't have the capacity to do it, because in our jobs we're very autonomous and we have these huge expectations, our ACGME guidelines, our program guidelines, institutional. But I will go to these people with something else is brought to me and then I feel like I can't handle. And I'll be like, well, can you go to Dr. Nash, who's one of mine, and say, can you see what she says, if this is something that she wants me to do? Or, let me call my ADME and see if this is something that we can work into our projects right now. That's boundary setting. That's saying, okay, I need help with this. And use your PTO time. I'm the worst about Well, I've gotten better, but I used to be the worst about not taking my time. Somebody was gonna need me, something was gonna fall apart. Love to go to Mexico. I love to go to Mexico, but cell phones didn't used to work that well there. I was terrified somebody wouldn't be able to get a hold of me. And now I'm like, phone's off for a week. I have backup. There's a program director. They can figure it out. What do healthy boundaries look like for us as a program coordinator team? Letting your team know that you sign off at a certain time each day. 5 o'clock is generally when I try to sign off. Sometimes it's 6, but 5 o'clock is like my, I'm not on the computer. 6 o'clock is when, unless it's emergent, I'm not going to answer a text. When you're out of the office and signed off for the day, specify that you won't answer emails or texts unless there's an emergency. Now, this can be a verbal thing you tell your residents in didactics, or it can be a return email that you set up to go back to them. Define what constitutes an appropriate emergency to your team. This is your program director, your faculty, and your residents. My defined emergencies are someone's sick and they can start texting. Well, they can text me whenever because they know I've told them already my phone, the text is muted. But as soon as you know you're sick, let me know, because when I wake up, I'm gonna have to make sure the clinic's contacted. It's their responsibility to contact the clinic and the preceptor, absolutely, but I still follow that up to make sure it was done. So they know, if they have lose a family member, if somebody's sick, if, we had a huge, I don't know if you guys heard about this, and it's been 3 years ago, we had the huge pile up here on 35 during a big ice storm, and one of my residents was in the middle of that. She was caught in the middle of it. And so I got a text from her at like 5:45 a.m. She was trying to get to the hospital. All of those things are emergent, right? You can, like I said before, you can put a note in your email signature saying you're only answering emails during specific hours. My sister's an escrow officer, and the housing market is blown up everywhere. She has automatic return emails, exactly when she will return it, if she's at lunch, things like that. Silence your phone notifications at the end of the day so the emails and messages are not interrupting your dinner and family time. It's hard for me because I'm kind of a phone junkie, but I do. I put it down, I put it away. Nothing is going to happen in an hour or 2 hours of time that can't be taken care of when you're done. And I tell myself that a lot because I'm, like I said, I'm kind of a helicopter mom sometimes. More healthy boundaries for us: create built-in breaks, put them on your Outlook calendar. I mean, just so it pops up and you're like, okay, I need to get up and walk away. I need to get up and walk outside. Take your lunch and learn to triage tasks, which I think as coordinators, we have to do very well. Do everything you can to stick to your routine. If that's respecting your boundaries outside of work. And once you have these things built into your Outlook calendar and somebody's sharing it, you share a calendar with someone, then it also shows them that, oh, these are times she's gone. I used to have a supervisor who I adored, a colleague, and she was very serious about her physical fitness. And she walked out the door every day at 4 and she was going to the gym. And nothing stopped her. She wore her tennis shoes in. That was her Zen time before she picked up her kids. If we make a habit to begin and work and take breaks at the same time every day, we're more likely to do it. Our team knows we're not there. And they'll respect us for it. They will. So benefits of having healthy boundaries. The goal is, now I don't know that this always happens, but our goal is for our life to be less stressful, cluttered, and distracted. You will experience a new sense of calmness and direction, and I have found this to be very true. To the people that truly care about us, they will adjust to our boundaries. And those people that don't, then that's where we talk about overstepping boundaries, and we may need to have a discussion with them and or our superiors. You're able to focus on enhancing your life rather than repairing it and just surviving each day. As a coordinator of over 20 years, I will tell you, in my head, I've even said verbally, my goal is just to survive today. I don't want to survive anymore. I want to flourish and feel in control, and it's not going to happen even after my years. With ARIS opening, I have a meeting today about interviews, and we're going to be doing some rearranging. I'm a little bit anxious about that. And it's right after this. And this morning, I will tell you that the computer locked up on me. I couldn't find my credit card number for the lunch order today. I didn't know how I was gonna get here. I mean, just different things. And it all was like just small things that were out of my control. So, you know, and then I just refocused and I said, I'm gonna go do my presentation. And so this is, got right back on track. You feel more hopeful and enthusiastic about your life and your future. Our jobs are not our lives, but if we have more boundaries set and control here, we'll feel better about that. You feel more in control of your life work trajectory, and that's a word that I don't like to say. That's a hard one. And equipped to make good decisions. We respond immediately. You will respond immediately and assertively to boundary violations without feeling guilty. I think that's huge. Guilt. A lot of us carry a lot of guilt about just different things. Saying no, we're givers. So yeah, we don't need to have guilt when we say no. And you're more respectful of other people's boundaries. I found that so true in myself, and especially in my children. I'm so proud of them for setting the boundaries. I have some grown kids. And, you know, grandbabies are born and they want to do it this way and that way. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever you want. Like, I'll be there for you whenever you need it. And it promotes a closeness with others, and you're able to manage your conflicts and theirs better. Because we do a lot of conflict management, right? So let's talk about overstepped boundaries. You know what? This is yeah. So we talked about this a little bit. I'm going to go and repeat it again. Overstep boundaries. Trying to see what happened with this. This one got missed. Okay, I guess I was copying and moving stuff around this morning. So, and we just go with it, right? So even with all the right tips that help you create and communicate our boundaries, there are times that someone oversteps them. And the next few slides are potential boundary breaking scenarios and ways to politely and professionally push back. I'm a big example person, or can you give me the words that you would say, and then I'll change them and use my own. Sometimes those words just escape me. So again, we were talking about, you know, built-in breaks in our lunches and triaging tasks. If you make a habit to begin and end work and take breaks at the same time every day, like I said, you're more likely to do them. So let's just move on. So when you need to set realistic expectations, here's an example. Somebody comes to you and they want a project. So and you're like, you have to set the expectation of what all do I have on my plate, right? So something you can say is, given the quick turnaround for this project, I'm able to accomplish these two objectives, X and Y. Unfortunately, there isn't enough time for me to complete the last one with the quality it deserves, and this project was slated for 8 hours for completion, but on average it takes 12 or 14 because very few people have sat in our seats. And so nobody really gets how many hours something takes sometimes, but they can guess, but it's not always realistic, right? It would be helpful to extend the scope of this project to ensure it's finished to the best of my ability. You're saying it takes 6. I've done it before. It takes 8. I'm gonna need more hours in the day, more hours this week to get this done. On top of, here are my other projects. So that's setting realistic expectations. Are there any questions?
We are getting an influx of great comments. Everybody keep them coming. No questions so far, so.
Okay, guys, I've got 6 more slides and then we can talk, because I think talking helps us work through a lot of things. All right, so when you're asked to take on extra work, and I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, and I love this, and my sister actually introduced me to this statement. She was going through a hard time in her life, and then I got this text back. I texted her, I'm her sister. I was like, so when someone asks you to take on extra work, unfortunately, I don't currently have the bandwidth to give this project the attention it needs. I'm happy to help with this if blank can be prioritized to allow me to pivot my focus. So, and I would use different words. These are the part I really like is I don't currently have the bandwidth I think we have to be very aware of what we can accomplish and what we're capable of. During inspections, I know I've sat in this chair and in this office 14 to 16 hours a day, putting together binders, getting stuff done because we're still trying to, get the responsibilities of our girls. I'm talking too fast, of our career, of our position met. But just saying, I don't think I have the bandwidth. Like, I don't have this in me right now. Can this be moved back? A priority be changed? Because your focus is on what you have right in front of you. Meetings scheduled during breaks. I have had this happen repeatedly, and I have a colleague who her breaks are sacred, and I respect that. Other people have not. Hi Aria, I just saw that your meeting invitation and wanted to see if there's a chance we could push it back. I normally take my lunch break during 12 and 1, and that break helps me feel energized and focused for our meetings. I love this one. And working for two entities, lunches are free time for the clinic. They're free time from the residents, faculty. There's a lot of lunches set. But I've used this myself because sometimes I know I just need to get out. I don't have a set lunch break. So like I said, I'm preaching to the choir when I'm doing this. I do take lunch, but I know that if I set a time every day, it would be better for me. So these are some different slides, and I pulled from some different websites, and I really loved this. So at Millennial Therapist, boundaries can sound like, I'm not okay with you making racist jokes. If you continue to, I will leave. Just all different kinds of scenarios here. I don't feel comfortable gossiping about other family members or coworkers, right? That happens a lot. I can only offer meetings during my business hours. I appreciate your support, but I want to make this decision on my own. I think that's a great one. And this is a good one that I've actually used in the past year. I've gone through some things and had a situation it's an HR type situation, and I was not comfortable dealing with it. So my superior took it off my plate. I'm feeling really triggered right now, and I don't feel like I'm in a place where I can offer you the support you need. That is so safe for yourself and protecting of yourself. It's a hard thing to say, but if you're in a situation that is triggering you for some reason, it's okay to say that. Some of these are more personally related, like I like you as a friend. I want to be clear about the fact I'm not looking for anything more. Talking about, if you're in a social event and there's alcohol available, no thanks, 1 glass of wine is my limit. I need you to stop making comments about my weight. Thank you for the invite, but tonight I need some alone time. Huge things personally and professionally that will make us feel better. This one, these are boundaries specifically at work. I'm honored that you would ask me to help, but I'm unable to add anything else to my workload. I can't lower my price. I hope that you find someone within your budget. I know I'm working from home, but I'm still maintaining normal business hours. This is huge, especially if you have been able to keep any work from home time. Yeah, it's huge. I can't offer my services for free. I need help with my workload because I can't manage everything on my plate. And I don't think we're expected, because I feel like, my AD and me, and she has been a coordinator. But if you have anybody above you who's never been a coordinator, they don't know what's on your plate. They don't know how it looks. I'm not able to chat right now. I need to stay focused on my work assignment. Now that I'm back in the office, I use that one a lot. I'd rather talk on the phone instead of emailing about this topic. I did that yesterday. I stopped probably 6 or 7 emails with 1 phone call. I don't feel comfortable talking about politics at work. Amen to that. All right. Boundaries with yourself might sound like, so self-talk, taking care of each other. I will not enter my phone when unavailable to give my energy to the conversation or when I'm busy. When I'm feeling lonely, I will not call my ex. Well, that's a good one. I won't describe my body using loving terms. I am resting to prevent burnout. It is okay to not do anything. I'm giving you permission right now. It is okay to not do anything. It is okay to go home, sit on the couch. You don't have to do the dishes. give the kids peanut butter and jelly or cereal. Nobody's gonna die. I have 5 kids. It's okay. I will ease into the day rather than rushing out of bed. If you have a moment to relax and stay in bed a little bit longer and you want to, take advantage of that. The laundry's still gonna be there, the dishes are still gonna be there. It's all gonna be okay. I choose not to spend money impulsively as a response to being triggered. Oh, I'm a shopper. That speaks to me. I will walk away from arguments before I lose my peace, and I will return when I'm able to talk it through. That's okay to say too, in a professional environment. Hey, I need a minute. This is not healthy for me. I'll return when I can, and give them a time frame. Say, I'll return and I'll give you a response in 30 minutes or 45 minutes. I will ask for help before I'm overwhelmed or before it's my last resort. Please, please, please. And I think over the years I've gotten better, but please don't wait till it's 2 or 3 days before an inspection, or you're just, it's interview season, right? And we're trying to manage didactics and schedules and clinic and rotations, and it's a lot. I will not drink anymore tonight. I reached my limit. Well, I'm a wine drinker, so I practice that in moderation. And then love this. So boundaries. I have to set limits for my own wellness, and even though I may say no to you, it doesn't mean it's even about you. I'm just taking care of me. So let me get out of this. All right, and I talked fast, so I apologize if I lost anyone. So tell me, let me look at the chat here.
We have had a great conversation in the chat. Keep them coming. One of the questions that came was about doing meetings after work, even if you're salaried or hourly. So the response to that has been great. But Kimberly, I would like to know your response to that.
So I recently had a discussion with a colleague about this. And first off, when you got the position, was there an expectation that there would be meetings after work? That's the first thing. If not, then that's a discussion to have, is that I'm sorry, if number one, if it's every now and then, I think when you have a position that involves physicians seeing patients, sometimes it is after hours. It should have been told to you when you were hired. But if it's after hours and you are hourly, then the expectation should be that you get other time off, or that you're paid overtime. So we are allowed to flex time to some degree. And we have our team is very good. We've all been together a long time, and COVID changed a lot of things for us, which were for the better. But I would have a conversation with your program director, or if you have a different type of supervisor. We have answered a couple of people, our PD and then our associate dean. But yeah, a salary versus hourly is very different position. And when I was at UT Southwestern, I was hourly, and I clocked in and clocked out, and it was very stressful. I didn't care for it at all, and I will tell you, they probably got less work out of me because of that. Let's see.
Another comment here is, anyone else has guilt over doing nothing when getting home and your family possibly doesn't fully understand the mental and possible physical exhaustion?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Aria and I both deal with that. And if anybody else does, jump in. No, absolutely. That's what I was saying. It's okay for us just to sit still, but I think also sharing what we do with our family. I've been doing this 20 plus years, and I have a son who is now a physician, and he went to a different medical school and training program, but he saw what I did for years. So I have guilt. I have one child left at home. And sometimes during this season, I get home and I don't want to move. Oh, wow. Interview season plus moving plus wedding planning. Sarah, yes, that's tough. Okay, and yeah, like I'm having a meeting today at 11:15 after this, and you're talking about your PD presenting her times and dates available, and I have an interim PD. Yeah, we have to do what we can do, and if it doesn't work for all the parties, then yeah, you get the biggest number that it'll work for.
Is there anybody who wants to jump in and
Sharon,
ask any questions?
Laura, you made a good point there, being appropriately salaried as in pay us accordingly to working as hard as we do. That's a struggle that has been going on for this position for years. And yes, Sharon, we're gonna hand out slides, but Laura, that's, I think we're finally, our pay is more equitable. It's getting better. And then of course you have to balance it out with, do you work for, like a medical school versus a hospital? And I think hospitals corporately pay more versus medical schools, but the benefits are better. But yes, I do see that trending upwards for us.
Yeah, it's funny, there's a couple of ladies on here actually from my institution, so we're all kind of chuckling at some of the things, because one of my recurring refrains is no program coordinator should make less than a PGY1. Somebody just added me and said PGY2, and then somebody else said, we shouldn't make anything less than 50K, and I'm sitting here going, I do. So yeah, it is hard out here, and it's really hard to set those boundaries when you know you need the work and you need to be able to function, but it is hard some days. So I really have enjoyed this session and all the comments in the chat. It's been awesome.
I had such a bad day at work yesterday, and Aurea can attest to this. I found out that one of my residents resigned 2.5 years through a 4-year program yesterday. So I just wanted to go home and sit in the closet for a little while. Turn the light off, shut the door, sit in the closet. I didn't, but I really felt like it. So there's nothing wrong with going to sit in the closet when you get home for a few minutes.
I would, I just wanted to speak up. Yes, Linda is my next door neighbor, so I was going through that with her. Yes, yeah. I was gonna say that, this AHME study that was cited at farther, the salary study, it was very eliminating. And one of the things about setting boundaries, and one of the things that I was noticing is that you can use, we can have some salary negotiations. You can take these AHME salary studies with you to your reviews. And they need to know what you do, how much you do. I've even gone as far as to, for a couple of weeks, written down everything I do in it every day and with a time on it. It is time consuming. Someone doubted what I did. Someone doubted that I was that busy. So I wrote it down and I took it with me and I said, okay, I am that busy. Because unless you're sat in this position, no one knows.
So Kimberly or Aurea, tell them about our meetings we just did with our faculty development, trying to condense into 1 hour. All three of us presented what we do as coordinators, and you can't do it in an hour. And we tried not to terrify them, we tried not to scare them away, but and then to think about it, what do you, to get ready for the presentation, what do you do? It's like, well, I can't tell you unless you have a year, to go through it. Because I've been at this almost 3 years and I still don't know everything I should know. And I'm doing well. My residents are graduating, but nobody can understand it. And I didn't understand it when I was being interviewed for the job. Kimberly kept telling me, this is going to be crazy. And I thought, how crazy can it be? Well, I was wrong. So it's tough to.
It's really tough, especially when you start not, as I think a bunch of us here, I'm guessing, let me be honest, I'm guessing that we started as admins, as secretaries within the position. And then thank you to ACGME, we have progressed. And again, I've been a fair proponent saying, this is not just a job. This is now a profession. We have to be better prepared. We have to know all of this. And even at Bloom years, we still sometimes don't know what we're doing. And then ACGME gives us the requirements, and then suddenly we are mastering them, and the next day or the next hour, oh, here's a new set of requirements that are changing. Don't you love it? Don't you love it when you get those emails and you're like, just as I mastered this.
Aria, that is great, because new coordinators and old coordinators, they need to know, I know you feel like that you should have mastered this. You should know this. Why aren't you doing the same thing as this other coordinator? Because things keep changing. So the older coordinators learn from the newer coordinators, and everything just changes. So don't think that you're not doing a good job. You're doing a great job. Things just keep changing. We think we know, and then magically something has changed, something new comes. So you're doing good. That's why we have this. And we can learn, and that's why the listservs help so much, because things change. You're doing a good job. It's just that things keep changing.
And unfortunately, a constant change in GME is a big part of what we do. So again, people don't feel bad because you think you don't know anything. It's okay. It's okay. And honestly, I'm reading through the chat. If anybody has a copy of those salary survey results that you can share, please feel free to share them. It's amazing to see how different our job is perceived, our profession is perceived, one end of the country versus another end of the country. It's hard to see, it shouldn't surprise me, but it surprises me every time. And we have people here who are starting or haven't started. We're not telling you this so you can get scared and run away. No, please don't. We are here. This is our community. And again, don't be afraid to set those boundaries. Oh my God, Kimberly, are you seeing this?
Yes, and I wanted to say, so Amanda, so hey, so in 2016, I burned out. I was done. That's why the setting boundaries and different things that I've chosen to speak about, because they speak so personally to me. And somebody just dropped that AHME in the web chat, that survey. But I burned out. I was tired, and I had been here since 1999. 2016, I talked to my associate dean. I said, I'm out. I'm tired. I'm done. I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to stay home with my last child, which she didn't appreciate enough, And so I was gone for 2 years. Now I did some work with the dean here. I did some stuff from home. They were gracious enough to keep me around, and then I came back. I missed it. I get a lot of value from my job. I love my team. I'm very lucky. I was at UT Southwestern in Dallas for a minute. They taught me so much. It was a long drive. I came back here to Fort Worth, but it was hard. I will tell you, the first few weeks of being off work, after taking my child to school, I would just lay on the couch and sleep. I laid on the couch and slept for like 2 weeks. And my husband was like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm just tired. And I never had that chance in my life. So it's okay to take the time off, to take our leave, and to take medical leave if we have to. It's absolutely okay. I just broke my knee back during orientation, the second day of orientation. I broke my knee, and everything and then I fell and got a concussion. I was a hot mess. I had to call my associate dean and go, I just can't do this. I've got to take time. I was in the hospital for a week, but it was okay. And nothing fell apart while I was gone. So, and then I had a team who helped me out, and it was, so just knowing we have to take care of ourselves.
Can I just say I was gonna type it, but one of the biggest gifts I was ever given was a former coworker when I was leaving my very first adult big girl job after college. And it was, I worked in a public library. I worked with the teenagers. So of course they were like, oh my gosh, somebody who likes us. And I was really sad when I was leaving, and I was like, I just don't know what's going to happen. And my coworker just looked at me and said, this job was done before you were here. This job will be done after you leave. You are not irreplaceable. You yourself are irreplaceable, but the role is not. And that was the biggest gift. And I have carried that with me everywhere, is that I can leave it better than I found it for the next person. But this job was done before me, it'll get done after me. And it released so much from every time I've changed jobs. So I give you that gift if anybody else needs to hear it.
Yeah, when I left, one of the biggest things that made me feel better, was the coordinator that took over after me, and we'd worked together. She called me a lot looking for things. Where's this? Where's that? And then she was like, how do you do this? She's like, how did you do this? And then she said, why did you do this? Or why did you do that? And I said, well, when I left, so-and-so position, I just brought it with me. Nobody else wanted to do it. I did this, nobody else wanted to do it. She's like, well, I'm not doing it. She's like, that's not my job description, which I don't ever live by that mantra, but what it taught me for her and for, when I came back was, just because somebody wouldn't do something in a position I'd had, because I always coordinated residency, but there's always more tasks, right? But just because somebody wouldn't do it didn't mean I had to carry it on. Because when it got dropped, when she didn't do it anymore, people either picked it up or realized it was no longer needed. So, I didn't have to try to kill myself because I thought something had to continue to be done. It doesn't. And if you can't do it, if it's no longer part of your job, then you don't have to do it. Because I was like, oh, they're going to fire me. They're not going to keep me. I have to keep doing all these things. And that's not true.
Again, keep bringing this. This is so amazing. Everybody putting their comments, their questions in the chat. There's a question here from Lisette. I think what they mean is program coordinators under different specialties versus the coordinator who is the GME level oversight coordinator, who is under that bigger umbrella. Yeah, I tried to put it in the chat, but I think it was better for me to say it in words.
So I was gonna say, I saw up here and I'm totally, I need to let my husband see this. Yes, no, they don't know what we do. Like, and we can share the PowerPoint that Linda and Aria and I did. So we have a faculty development center here, and it's part of our department at UNTHSC. And they have a lot of new employees, and they have a lot of employees coming from elementary and under, in junior high level of education. And so they had each employee or set of employees come do a presentation to the new employees so they could kind of get a grasp on what we do. So Aria and Linda and I each had 15 minutes. We took different sections and tried to break it down in different ways. Aria took scholarly activity. Linda did like a snapshot of what we do. I kind of did the overall annual calendar. And you should have just seen their eyes. They were like, what? Like, that we have ACGME to answer to. We have our program director. We have our own program guidelines. We have, if there's someone else, they were like, what kind of fresh hell is this? But you have to love it to do it, or like it. You have to like it. You don't have to love it. But, and then they said, and then so HCA is our other entity that we work for, and I had their big expense calendar, which is a really good tool. And they got a printout of it, and they looked at it, and they're like, how do you do anything else? So I don't have a good answer for that, because to me, we just do it. But it's a valid question. How do you do anything else? And then when you are sick or you have a wellness day, like Linda and I recently had a wellness day for our residents. It's every fourth Friday. that we had to not go to Wellness Day, which we would normally go to, and it was kind of be a wellness day for us as well, because we were in new innovations, new innovations training, because we're switching from MedHub to new innovations. We were like, we can't be there. And we have to make choices like that all the time.
Oh my God, Chelsea,
Dr.
thank you so
Davis.
much for that comment.
But it's absolutely true, because I talk about baby docs all the time, that I have a lot of baby docs. People think I'm talking OB-GYN docs. I'm like, no, young, maturing baby doctors.
Again, I am loving these comments. We have a few minutes left. I know some of you might be attending the NAMSA webinar after this. So if anybody has any additional questions, any additional comments, feel free to say them now. I'm sorry, Kimberly.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
A lot of people have requested the PowerPoint. Can we post that somewhere?
Yes, send it to me and I'll post it. I'll send it in the email. Everybody, I'm sorry, my email is crazy when sending the invites and sent apparently it was canceled. No. It's not canceled. And somebody said if we could advocate to change this role from coordinator to manager, let's get that word out, because we need to, people need to know that we are here, that we do more than they think we do. It's not just what it says on a piece of paper, or it says, let's try to do that, and again, Laura, I actually applied. Hopefully. I actually
Cool.
applied. We won't find out until January, they told me. But yeah, I did apply. So yeah, if I'm there, I will try.
So also, you are middle management. When we're talking about salaries and things, you need to make sure that that's clear. That you are middle management. We are dealing with the wellness of these young doctors, and we're the first point of contact for that. But absolutely, the manager term has been thrown around a lot. And also, Laura, you mentioned Tag Me. Some of us are Tag Me certified. I think it's super valuable. It also, it just gave me, I felt more validated as a coordinator. And basically just because I found all the information and I passed. I don't know if I passed minimally or max, I don't know, but I passed. And it's, can you find the information? It's not, do you know it by heart? Can you find it? Do you know how to use it? It was so good. It was so good. I just finished my first recertification. So I'm going into 7 years of it. And that's a good community as well. So, and I see all the comments about sitting on the board of the organization. And for Tag Me, I see Laura said, professional development funds, we were reimbursed after we passed. So that's an option. I think you could take to your management.
And remember that these sessions count, because it's educational credits. We also offer, for those of you, if you're interested, I posted that we're going to have our annual educational conclave at the Texas College of Osteopathic Medicine in May. We're going to have coordinator-led sessions. We're going to start planning those soon. So pending. There's the Faculty Development Center does a Chief Resident Leaderships Conference. It's also in May. It's going to be virtual, and it's going to have a coordinator led session too. And all of those topics are also for coordinators. So those little things, and some of them are free, like us. Like our sessions are free. Take advantage of those opportunities. I know Tag Me right now it has a maximum number of virtual sessions, but if you take opportunity of those, even if you have more than what you need. I want to thank Kimberly for taking the challenge today and presenting this amazing topic. Again, we needed something like this. We are a huge community. We keep growing. And again, thank you so much. The recording will be posted later, either later today or tomorrow. Everybody, the best of luck during recruitment. We are here. We are doing recruitment. We can do this. Okay? So thank you. See you all next month with our Q&A.
Bye, guys.